All right, let's take a look at lesson 12, arithmetic with complex numbers. So math talk, telescoping sums. Find the value of each of the expressions mentally. So if we look at the first one, well, 2 minus 2, that's 0. 20 minus 20 is 0. 200 minus 200 is 0. So that whole thing is going to be 0. And then we can take a look at the next one where we have a negative 50 and a positive 50. We have a 10 and a negative 10, and we have a 100 and a negative 100. Again, that's just going to be 0 because everything cancels out. For the next one, we have a 3 and a negative 3. We have a 2 and a negative 2, a 1 and a negative 1. Everything cancels to give us 0. And then for the last one, we have a 1 with a negative 1, 2 and a negative 2, 4 and a negative 4, 8 and a negative 8, 16 and a negative 16, so we are left with 32. Everything canceled but the 32. So that's how we can do that mentally, because that's going to help us when we're looking at like terms with complex numbers. All right, so number 1 for 12.2, adding complex numbers. Here's a diagram, and it represents 2 plus 3i, which is right here, plus negative 8 minus 8i. So notice we have our 2 plus 3i, and that is represented with the orange dot. And that shows that we went right 2 units and up 3, right? Because again, this is our imaginary number line. So that's where our I is going to be. And then this horizontal is our real number line. All right, so how do we see negative 8 minus 8i represented? So our negative 8 is going to the left. So from the orange dot, or 2 plus 3i, we go left 8 units, because that's our real number line, so we're going horizontally. And then we go down 8 units, because our imaginary number was negative 8i. So we went down 8 units. All right, so what complex number does A represent? So if we look at that, we're going to the left to get to A. We're going left. Actually, I should probably do that. Oh, wrong one. There we go. We're going left 6 units, so that's negative 6. And then we went down, what's that, 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5 units, so minus 5i. All right, so that's how we can do it graphically. But let's take a look algebraically at how we could add these two values, right? So we have 2 plus negative 8. So, 2 plus negative 8 is negative 6. And then we have 3i and negative 8i. So we have 3i plus negative 8i, and that gives us negative 5i. So we have negative 6 plus negative 5i, which you can really write as negative 6 minus 5i. Right, so it's just like you treat them like variables, the i's, when you're combining like terms. They're not variables, they represent numbers, but we treat them like variables when we're using them in expressions. All right, so now let's take a look at number 2. Write these sums and differences in the form a plus bi, and we just talked about that, where a and b are real numbers, okay? So for part A, sorry, we have negative 3 plus 2i plus 4 minus 5i. Because we're adding, we can just drop the parentheses and it's fine. All right, so we have negative 3 and 4 gives us 1. And then 2i and negative 5i is negative 3i. Now we could check this by drawing a diagram. I'm not going to make you do that. But you could just do like we did up here on the grid where we had the imaginary number line and the real number line. All right, so let's take a look at B. All right, so again, it's addition, so we can just drop those parentheses. And so we have plus 11 plus 81i. All right, so now, again, we're going to take our negative 37 and our 11, and we get negative 26. And then negative 45i and positive 81i. What's that going to give us? 36i. So we have negative 26 plus 36i. All right. Let's take a look at C. Now, C is a little bit different because it's a subtraction. So we can't just drop the second set of parentheses. We can for the first one. So we have negative 3 plus 2i. But then we need to distribute this negative to both terms. So we have negative or minus 4 plus, because minus and negative is plus 5i. Now we can go ahead and combine our like terms. So negative 3 and negative 4 gives us negative 7. 2i and 5i gives us positive 7i. So we have negative 7 plus 7i. Then we're going to do the same thing with D. So we have negative 37 minus 45i. Then we're going to distribute the negative. So we have minus 11 minus 81i. Then we're going to combine our like terms. So negative 37 and negative 11 gives us negative 48. And then negative 45i and negative, oh, I forgot my 1. That's an 81i, not an 8i. Gives us, let's see, 126i. Now, if you look at our terms there, in A and C, we had the same terms. It was just one was addition and the other one was subtraction. And then in B and D, again, we had the same terms, but we were subtracting. So we got different answers there. All right. And I think that was everything for this lesson. Yep. All right. There is some practice, and you can see where we combined like terms. We just treated the I kind of like variables. Again, they're not variables. They represent numbers. But when you're using them in sums and differences, you can treat them like variables.